Matt, I'm wiped out.
Hi.
I'm wiped
out.
Yeah, a little bit. Aren't you from last night?
I mean, I should be. I didn't have a choice, so I was not.
I was thinking maybe it was between like the drinking, the being on our feet the entire time for so many hours, and also the very limited amount of sleep I ended up getting.
Yeah, I think the walking and drinking counterbalanced that. I think that's how all this works. So I think I'm doing okay.
I think I'm gonna sleep pretty well tonight. What are you drinking?
Just a little mango carty. Keeping it easy, keeping it nice.
Is that what you almost bought last night when we went into the gigantic one?
Yes, for those who didn't know, we went to Halloween Horror Nights last night. If you were not looking at our internet social profiles, which why aren't you? But yeah, this was what I almost got last night. But it's a little it's not a Hefeweizen, but it gets closer to that territory than I would like. So it's a little heavier. And like if we had to chug it before going on the terror tram, for example, I didn't want to chug a 16-ouncer of the mango cart and just have that sitting in my stomach.
That makes sense. You remember our maze and drinking schedule very well.
Yes. Are you suggesting that I shouldn't?
Well, I was busy whipping up a video for Collider today, and I was trying to retrace my steps the whole night to like fully remember what I thought about each maze. And, it took me a minute to recall the exact order that we did everything.
I took notes. I do that purposely. That's why every time after we got out of a maze. Oh, they're just like I took my notepad out on my phone and I would just like jot down the maze name and I would jot down like my favorite parts about it. So then when I write my piece, that'll be on Slashville. I can go back and do it that way.
Tell everybody what your favorite maze was.
I keep flip-flopping on it, but I think for the sake of argument, because I know your favorite maze, and not even argument, I like them both, but I kept going back on Bride of Frankenstein and Pandora's Box being which one is my favorite. And I want to land on Bride. Because I think the production value, like you said in your little video, is like the production value on Bride is so much fun. Also, it tells this really fun narrative story where the bride saves Frankenstein and brings him back to life. And you're watching it happen and it unfolds like a fable in front of you. So that was very cool to me.
I definitely agree with you on that. And the story part of that one was especially good because I don't think the story popped as much in any of the others. But when you look at the visuals in Pandora's Box, it was hard for me not to fall for that above all else. So that is my favorite.
Blacklight stuff is very cool. Blacklight stuff, especially. There was one called Patient Zero a few years ago. I don't know if you did that one, but it also did Blacklights. It was zombies in like the Paris underground. And you're trying to escape through like Paris, and it's all blacklit though, and it's all neon blacklights and mirrors and stuff. So like that was very cool. So I got those vibes.
Maybe I just heard about this because I can't really picture that now that you're describing it.
I might have gone on about it.
Was it a Florida thing and not a California one?
Possibly, because I do believe I did that one in Florida. So that I believe could have been a Florida only.
So maybe I didn't do it.
We can say that I think my biggest letdown was Hill House. I do want to say that. Hill House did not do much for me.
Sorry, Arturo. It was the biggest letdown for me too, but it wasn't that it was a bad maze. It was still really cool looking and fun to walk through. I think it's just because it was one of the big new ones this year, and I love The Haunting of Hill House so much. So I was really, really excited for that one. More excited and, more anticipation than for any other one. So, if it pales compared to your expectations, it's going to wind up at the bottom of the list. And it ended up pretty close to the bottom of the list for me.
Yeah, and I think we have to acknowledge it was on the back end of a pandemic, and the pandemic's still happening. So this was a horror nights that you could tell they made certain choices to make sure everyone was safe. And I think the Hill House one especially, you didn't really have that many character actors with masks on them already, so they didn't have like any face coverings, so you had to protect them. And they did that a lot by using that kind of glass pane where people are now behind a window versus like coming at you as much as possible. So I could tell that the most in Hill House, because a lot of Hill House was just face painted ghosts, and again, to protect them and to protect us, it's safe and smart. It just does make a little bit different of a scenario when like a scare being in your face versus just far enough away where you're kind of like, cool.
Yeah. I can understand that necessary criticism. I think I think that would make my criticism the necessary element, but you know what I mean.
A necessary action that is also a necessary criticism. They can both exist. It's
sure,
fine. I agree that they should have done it. Yeah. I agree it was the right choice.
Yeah. I hear you. Do we want to hit Ryan's super chat, which basically ties into one of our stories?
Ties in right immediately. Yeah, sure.
Thanks for this, Ryan. After all these years going back to where it all started, back to the Matrix, the trailer rocked and used an excellent music choice. The song used was White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. All right, so let's talk about this Matrix trailer. I'll just go first because my thoughts are limited because it's never really been my franchise. And I don't mean it's not a franchise that I enjoy, but I don't rewatch those movies as much as I rewatch other franchises out there.
Yeah.
And like I'm feeling it after this trailer more so than I have in recent months, no matter what they released for this new movie. But like I'm jealous. I'm jealous that I'm not a bigger part of this fandom. So I think I am just long overdue for a full franchise rewatch to, fully be able to take part in the excitement and feel the thrill of seeing so many throwbacks in this trailer. The trailer was very well cut and it makes me want to see the movie. It's just, I have noticed that my enthusiasm doesn't match the enthusiasm of many others out there. And I think it's just because I haven't watched the Matrix movies all that much.
Yeah, I think for me, Andrew actually tweeted out he found an old box from a PlayStation 2 game, and it was Enter the Matrix. And I really think seeing that case, there was so much nostalgia for the game, and I realized I had more nostalgia for that video game than I did the actual franchise itself. And again, I'm not. I think I've said it before on the channel, and I think I'll say it again just to say out loud. I'm just not super into heavy sci-fi, and this definitely fits that like kind of sci-fi tech vibe. It's not my immediate draw. I do like the Matrix movies, though. That said, I very much do like them, so this is not coming from a place of criticism. I actually was a lot more taken by the trailer for the new one than I thought I was going to be, again, because that nostalgia wasn't there. I just see a brighter movie. I see a movie getting away from the original trilogy, and the original trilogy was so cyberpunky. It was so into the like dark green overlays and really going with that binary code kind of feel of the whole movie, where this new trailer feels brighter. I mean, you see all these like characters with colored hairs and like different things that just weren't in the movie. That was the original trilogy was just more like grungy and more like black leather and those kind of things. And I think I'm just taken by this new movie where the colors pop more, and it's more of a fantasy vibe than it is really that jacking into the Matrix vibe, I guess.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. It definitely, I think the visuals were a little more striking than what I remember of the original trilogy. But again, it's not really the most meaningful comment when I haven't rewatched them in so long. But a full binge is a top priority right now. I need to be doing that. I want to be binging the Matrix franchise. I really want to rewatch the Ghostbusters movies before that movie comes out. I wouldn't mind rewatching. I mean, I guess all of the Halloween movies aren't necessary, but I just want to, for fun, rewatch them before this, because the maze last night also got me, really Halloween hyped. So
yeah, and I don't. It's not that I think the first trilogy is anything that's not astonishing or popping. It's very industrial. It's very, like that Rob Zombie kind of techno overlay, which like you have these like that soundtracks of some of the movies are so cool too. It's just a vibe, and it's a very kind of late 90s, pre-2000s Y2K vibe. Mm-hmm. And this feels like it's gotten away from so much of that. It's had time to breathe. The franchise and the creators have had time to really think about how they want to bring back the Matrix into a new world. And this new world it feels a little more inviting to my tastes, is the way I would say it.
Okay, that's cool. And it's, it's also exciting to see franchises, very popular franchises, continue with purpose too. Like as in continue in a way that it evolves for a modern audience. And, for the look and the style that maybe we're accustomed to in certain types of films nowadays, but also I imagine they're going to lean into certain, themes and ideas that might feel more modern than just rehashing everything they did in the original trilogy. I keep thinking about that right now because, I'm prepping for a shoot on Monday, and one of our topics is horror remakes. So I was busy rewatching. I mean, more than this, but Dawn of the Dead and The Hills Have Eyes have been on my mind because those are two movies that do such a great job of taking their classic source material and modernizing it for a modern or, a 2000s audience. And I think that's why they excel so much.
Maniac. The Maniac remake is one of the best that does
example.
that. Effing so good at that. We could talk about horror remakes for hours with me. So don't take me down that road.
I should have not derailed us and instead used my Halloween comment before to drive us into our title topic for the show. So
interesting things.
Yeah, it's been announced that Halloween Kills will not be an in-theater only experience come October 15th, I believe. It is going to debut in theaters and on Peacock simultaneously. So we're getting the hybrid release.
Yeah,
you don't look like you're happy with this decision.
Well, we're getting a hybrid release, and I'm fine with that. But we're getting that hybrid release that's starting to really draw a divide between all of the different streamers. Like, this is going to Peacock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is really going to drive people to Peacock other than Halloween Kills? And I don't think Halloween Kills is going to be something that drives people to Peacock. So I think we are just muddying the waters even more because we have more and more streamers coming out, and now more and more streamers are going to be picking out more and more titles. They're going to start bringing them on different services. And that challenge we have already is, which service do I pay attention to? Which one can I afford? And which one can I actually watch and continue with? It's going to be so much harder now. And for a movie like Halloween Kills, the horror fans are going to want to see this in theaters. Are theaters going to be okay? Are people going to feel comfortable with it? I mean, that's a big thing. But if it goes like VOD, like some of those other movies did, where they did day and date and like, okay, you can rent it for $20 on VOD, so everyone has access to it, versus going to a streamer, is also a big different thing. Because I think going to Peacock, you're going to lose a lot of that fan base, which is really going, I don't want to go to a theater, but I also don't give a shit about Peacock.
I'm torn on the matter. On the one hand, it's disappointing to hear this news after Shang-Chi did so well at the box office, and we seem to have a couple of examples that prove that the box office numbers, they're not totally pre-pandemic numbers, but they could be big numbers if it is just released in theaters. Mm-hmm. And you guys know how I feel about box office numbers. I want to see the big ones again.
Yeah.
But there's no denying that some people out there aren't comfortable going to the movie theater right now. And I understand that. And I want all these wonderful movies to be accessible to everybody. And then when I step away from that part of the conversation and look at it from the universal perspective, I do think that is a smart play for the sake of Peacock. But then you need to ask yourself, do I sacrifice Halloween box office numbers to support my growing streaming service, which, from my perspective, at least, is lagging behind the competitors?
Yeah.
Or some of the bigger competitors. I think the one that's lagging behind for me, in my eyes, the most is probably Paramount Plus at this point. But the thing is, we've got things like Netflix, Amazon, Disney, HBO Max. They are releasing major movies on a very regular basis. They have to compete with that if they want any shot of that streaming service doing well. And, Halloween could be in a situation where if those box office numbers don't match what the 2018 movie made, maybe it's worth sacrificing it, especially when I tried to limit the amount of reviews that I saw, and I didn't actually read any because I want to steer clear of it. But I saw some of the reactions out of the first screenings, and I'm wondering if they're getting cold feet.
So, the cold feet thing, I don't really understand. I hesitate to say they're getting cold feet on a movie like Halloween Kills premiering at Venice. Like, you weren't going to get raves where if it premiered at Fantastic Fest or TIFF midnight.
They said the same. No, they said the same thing about TIFF. I'll never forget this conversation when it was that Halloween was going to TIFF, and it was like,
Yeah.
wow, they must have all the confidence in the world because that audience isn't going to receive it very well. And then the audience did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know Venice is a different crowd, but I still think that if it was a good movie, it would have been a good movie that got good reviews.
I agree, but the way it's also being sold in those reviews, even the negative reviews, the way they're talking about it as just being a gore-heavy kills-all slasher that's a part one versus a part, a full movie per se. One of the biggest complaints we do see a lot is that Halloween Kills ends abruptly, but it's meant to because it's really just a part one of a two movie set. So like that was never gonna go over with some audiences already. And again, the complaints I'm seeing in some reviews already are just, well, it's just about the kills and like blah, 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 stuff of that nature, where that's going to play so well with the horror fans and the horror crowd. I don't know if that's necessarily enough to give them cold feet.
I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to push back on that because, I specifically remember it's like, how much I don't like Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie movie, but that opening sequence is pretty brutal and wicked, and I think it's pretty well executed. But one of my biggest complaints of that movie was just that, it was just like Michael Myers walking around chopping, like it was just about the kills. And I think you always need good story to support those kills. But then, I think about something like, not that it didn't have a good story, but I'm thinking now of remakes, and I'm thinking of the Evil Dead remake, where if that was just one showcase of a kill after the next, I really would have enjoyed sitting there and watching it. So in the case of Halloween Kills, what I'm saying is I'm basically in the middle on it in terms of whether or not I will be okay with it. If it is just about huge showcase set piece type kills, one after the next, maybe I will, maybe I won't. And then I could say the same thing about the ending, because we've got a year to wait for that next movie, and it's a little difficult not to have a satisfying ending to a particular installment. And I'm not necessarily saying that ending has to be a happy ending that puts a nice little bow on top. I mean, look at Avengers Infinity War, but that ending still felt like a very fulfilling ending to that particular movie, that portion of the story that they were telling. And I think there's a way to kind of, play both sides of that. So I agree. Yeah. I hope that's what they do here, and it doesn't necessarily feel like to be continued ... at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and like again, I'm not like trying to push back on those points because it very well could be they're getting nervous after a first festival screening, but I don't think it is that, and I think it's more the fact that what you said before. This is now time for Paramount. This is now time for Peacock to start trying to come into their own as their own streaming service. But here's my question, because you bring up that the Netflixes of the world, the Hulus, the Amazon Primes, they've had a head start and they are able to spend so much more money on new products and like new movies that are coming out. Netflix alone, like you just said, huge movies are coming out once a week. I mean, like they're guaranteeing blockbuster films coming out on Netflix, whether they're good or not, but like they are putting out theater adjacent films on Netflix. But is it too late for a Peacock or a Paramount to do that now? Because there are too many. Like I've said it, like when we first started talking about it at the beginning of the pandemic, the beginning of when we started doing Merri Hour, the question was like, when does oversaturation happen? When is there literally too many streaming services and too many pulled apart streaming services where people can't have them all and they have to start picking? Like, when does Paramount or Peacock fall the wayside? Yeah, exactly. So like, how is that?
I don't necessarily think it's the same as if, let's say we rewind and go back to when Netflix was first starting up, and there were a whole bunch of smaller companies trying to do what Netflix was doing, and they were all competing. Like, we're talking about like gigantic corporations, like major movie studios. I don't think we're going to be in a situation where they're like, well, Peacock sucks, let's pull the plug on this, because it's also not even just about movies. Like, that is a huge company with so many different entities and, like news outlets and all this other stuff that's on that streaming service. So I don't necessarily think we're going to be wondering in a couple of months, well, which major studios one is going to go under first. I think it is what it is, but I also don't think it's too late. And I actually don't think it'll ever be too late for any of them to kind of, climb the ladder a little, because I mean, let's just think back to how Netflix really made itself a major player through original ideas. You deliver an original idea that sparks the next great franchise, a Stranger Things, and you're in the game more so than you were before. And think about the properties that Universal owns. Like, it already has certain ones that if they, took those that maybe, maybe bring in money in certain ways and pivot it towards boosting Peacock, which they can do. I'm not necessarily saying that would be the smartest idea, but if they do something like that with figure out a way to do it with a Fast and Furious movie, then maybe it'll make Peacock an essential subscription for some people.
Yeah, but to do that for to do a streaming Fast and Furious, that is a downsized Fast and Furious, and that immediately is not what's going to happen.
Get creative. I'm not necessarily saying pull the next Fast and Furious feature film from theaters. I'm talking about making something, better than that Fast and Furious racer show that's on Netflix. Do a series that's like legit good and put it on Peacock and make it essential viewing. I mean, the same thing with Jurassic Park. I know they have a deal with Netflix, but if Camp Cretaceous moved over to Peacock, I would sign up in a flat. I'm not saying it's big enough for everybody, but for hardcore Jurassic Park fans, that's how you do it. That's how you chip away. You chip away by bringing in all the different fandoms you have access to, and then you bring in more fandoms through new original prop. They have to be playing multiple games here.
Yeah, but the problem is that when Netflix did that, they didn't have the competition that's out there now. And the fact of the matter is that, like, the Netflixes, again, the Hulus and the Amazon have established themselves in this circle. They've established themselves as the streamers to beat. And someone just said in the, Stormy just said, I personally can afford one streaming service. And so when it comes down to it, if you can only afford one streaming service, are you going to go to the Peacock that has that one title you really want? Or are you going to keep it with the Netflix that, yes, has the Stranger Things, but then 20 billion other original ideas at this point? Like, I feel like they are so behind the game right now, the Paramounts and the Peacocks, that trying to compete with that kind of streaming output, or trying to compete and say, well, we have Halloween Kills, and Netflix is like, great, we're releasing one new horror movie the entirety of October and September. Like, I'm sorry, if it comes down to it and someone can afford one or the other, you're affording the Netflix there.
I have a point to make that I hope I don't forget. Are you not signed into my account? Can you not bring up comments today?
I cannot. I had to sign out to use the certified forgotten one, so I cannot. I apologize.
I'll keep a better eye out for those this time. But now I forgot my point. Oh, no, this is what it was going to be. So this feeds into my argument that it's never too late and you can change your fate and you can change your position in this competition with new releases. It is so easy to end one subscription and subscribe to a new thing. You don't necessarily have to be subscribed to everything at once. And I know that many services have good deals where it does benefit your wallet to sign up for a year versus month to month. But I think there is great opportunity for certain streaming services to entice folks to close down that subscription and then take those funds and put it towards our subscription. You just got to release the content that compels people to do it.
It's true. I worry that we're just getting thinner and thinner across the board, and it's just going to become a thing of like, what are people going to hop from streaming service to streaming service once a month and pick a new one every month that they want to do?
My wallet's getting thinner and thinner, but we're getting more and more content.
Oh no, 100%. And I guess the last thing I'll say here is too, again, to your point, studios thinking about streaming now versus theatrical. And wasn't it just today or maybe yesterday where Paramount announced that they want to focus more on streaming driven content versus their like big IPs? Like, literally they said, we're going to start paring down our productions and we're going to start doing things that are like remakes and sequels and things of that nature, and do them on a level that are geared for streaming versus theatrical. So like, that is a direct decision made to start benefiting streaming. But if you don't have the numbers for streaming, then why are you sacrificing what you would normally put into, like, I don't know. This whole streaming versus theatrical is really becoming a little bit of an interesting conundrum for studios.
How much does Paramount have left compared to its competitors in the theatrical game anyway? It's been lagging behind for a little while now. I mean,
Paramount Plus just they got the Orphan prequel, so like they're going out there trying to buy things. I mean, no, I'm hella excited for it, but like it is an idea that people are trying to make movies now, and they are still just being sold to streamers. And is this going to continue? Is this a thing now?
That's another revenue stream. It's like, I'm trying to think of, Sony doesn't have its own, so Sony should sell its library all over the place, which I believe, I mean, every streaming service does it. I mean, in producing brand new content and then selling it, kind of like, the arrangement that we just brought up with Netflix and Universal Animation type things, like Fast and Furious. But, for something with a streaming service that isn't doing very well, maybe the pivot should be to make money by selling it to other streaming services. But, like I'm speaking about this stuff like I have any idea of what the financing behind this and how you actually break even on these properties without the consistent money that comes in from a subscriber through your new movie. So what am I even talking about?
I have no idea. That's the thing. We have no idea what we're talking about because we're talking about streamers and wars, and this streamer war could be over in a few months when Paramount or Peacock just doesn't do what they can do.
All right. Make that much longer than a few months, and maybe
fair. It's
gonna be a very long fight. Very, very long fight. I don't think any of these streaming services are going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, I think I'll finally get Paramount Plus if I don't get other access to Paranormal Activity. That might be my one. I'll give it a month and see how it goes because I will be seeing the new Paranormal no matter how I have to.
Yeah.
If that means I have to do a month of fucking Paramount Plus, sure.
All right. I might be in that boat with you. All right. Let's hit some super chats. Ryan brought this up when we were talking about The Matrix. Sad that only one of the directors is returning. Yeah, definitely is. Where are we now?
Nothing else sad there. Yeah, it's like, no, it is. It would have been cool to see both of them return. But.
Yeah. Okay, I got the other one. SB Mito 20. Is there any movie you'll never watch just by reputation or anything you heard about it? Thinking scare factor, but interpret it however you feel. Were we just talking about this with Human Centipede?
We were talking about oh god, what was the exact topic? Like something similar. We were talking about
that.
The most like upsetting movies we've ever seen. So like things we've actually watched, but so like is there anything that you've never seen yet because of
Barbarian Sound Studio? Am I saying the right thing? Did I just mix up words?
Possibly. That is a movie, but why not?
Maybe I'm confusing that with a different one.
You're thinking of a Serbian film.
Well, I am thinking of a Serbian film. No, I won't watch that.
Barbarian Sounds.
Yeah, I've never seen Barbarian Sound Studio either, but not because
which is a good movie, by the way.
Not because I won't see it, but because
Barbarian Sound Studio or whatever it is.
Movies.
One of them is about unseeable things that will ruin your life. The other is just about a sound studio that is kind of haunted. Like, watch the one film. Definitely watch the sound studio one.
It's with Toby Jones. All right.
Yeah, the Toby Jones one.
I'll put that movie back on my list, but make sure that what's the other one?
A Serbian film.
Serbian film is like far off of it. I'll never watch it.
I'm sure I have really good examples of like I can't think of them right off the top of my head, but like there are definitely movies I've looked at that like I don't have to see that.
You should try to think of them though and mess up the titles just like I did.
No, well I was going to go with a different one and I was going to say my entire life, listen, I'm just not a spider guy. I just don't like spiders. I can deal with them like in scenes in movies, but I've never seen arachnophobia because just doesn't appeal to me in that way. And although like it literally is like a horror comedy and I'm the horror comedy guy, so I will be watching it soon. Ariel, who I write the scariest scenes column with, she is also not a spider fan, but like loves the movie. So she's going to make me watch it because she wants to write about one of the scenes. So I will be seeing it in the coming weeks. I will be knocking that off the bucket list, but I will admit full front, like spiders are kind of like, if your movie is about spiders, just no, unless it's Big Ass Spider, which is hilarious and awesome.
Did you ever see The Sisters Brothers?
Yes, yes, I did see The Sisters Brothers. Yes.
Do you know
with the scene? With the scene. That's what I said. I can deal. No, it's a great scene. It's a great movie and a great scene.
It's a great scene, but that's an example of a scene from a recent movie that haunted me for a while after.
Yeah, I watched that during the great binge of whatever year it came out when I was doing all the awards contenders.
2018.
Yeah, around there. But yeah, a lot of everyone, like Martyrs is absolutely a good pick there.
Hmm.
Oh, I've never seen the Bunny Game. I've heard messed up things about the Bunny Game.
I'm
Cannibal
one of
Holocaust,
them.
like I can deal with that stuff. I can deal with the Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can. I mean, like, it's not something that I want to watch again, but it's like
Yeah.
it's not the same thing as certain other films where I will actively avoid them.
Okay, wait. I think I will go back on my comment and say I don't want to watch films where the spiders look real. Because also someone just brought up Eight-Legged Freaks, and Eight-Legged
I
Freaks
like
is
that movie.
fantastic. It is so much fun. Yeah. So I can deal with the horror comedies. I can deal with the CGI spiders, like those. I've seen Eight-Legged Freaks like a billion times. So like I can deal with that. I was a very small child doing the backlot tour, I guess at like Disney or WB or something.
Okay.
And they had the giant spider from Arachnophobia hovering over you as you walked through a room. And that put me off of it forever. Cause like it's just hovering over me. And I was just like, fuck off. No thanks.
I did not know that you were so like, I guess not
I
necessarily
mean,
like afraid, but you just didn't like spiders to this extent.
I just avoid them if possible. I save them when I find them in my apartment. I just like kind of
Yeah.
usher them out of my apartment and I do that kind of thing. But like,
I don't know if I could build up the courage to save a bee, even though I have learned that I should if there's one anywhere near me indoors. But if I do find a spider and it's not like a monster looking spider, I'll like
yeah,
cup it and take it outside and set it
yeah.
free.
I
All
go,
right.
let's go, buddy. And I just get him outside. We have a few more. Sorry.
Yeah, I got Charles here. Charles Harkins. How stacked are the female acting categories for the Oscars this year? Stewart and Dunst appear to be the frontrunners for Best and Supporting. So I'm always like a little weird about updating my Gold Derby before I've seen things because I've brought this up before.
Yeah.
The Gold Derby lets you go back and look at your predictions from weeks and weeks ago, and I'll just never forget the year that the Goldfinch was playing at TIFF. It's like I went into TIFF thinking the Goldfinch was going to get all the nominations,
Sweet.
and I saw the Goldfinch, and it's just like what's the damn point? But I do it anyway. So I'm looking at some of the names in the mix right now for Best Actress. And of course, Kristen Stewart is in there for Spencer. I see Lady Gaga, House of Gucci, Frances McDormand, The Tragedy of Macbeth, Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I have a review of that one coming out soon. So keep an eye on the channel over the weekend for that. Jennifer Hudson, Respect, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Jodie Comer, The Last Duel, Cate Blanchett, Nightmare Alley. All very reasonable ones to be predicting this early out. But those
Wait until Mask comes out.
Which one?
Wait until Mask comes out.
Oh my god.
That's that's to your point. See, that's to your point that like
I have a problem with this list. Why
Yeah.
does this list like so I read them off in ranked order on Gold Derby right now. Like where are they? Wait, are they both in supporting?
I believe they're all going. I think they're all going
all four of
supporting.
them are going sporting.
I believe.
All right, wait. Let me navigate over to that category then, because there's one that we can both speak on with some serious knowledge because we saw them. Yeah. All right. So And Out is currently number one. Oh, I like this category quite a bit. So And Out is number one for odds on Gold Derby for Best Supporting Actress. And then right behind her is Marlee Matlin for Coda. And I can very much get behind both of those. Then if we want to start talking about movies that haven't come out that, are still being considered in contention right now, Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Rooney Mara for Nightmare Alley, Judi Dench for Belfast, Anjanou Ellis for King Richard. And, some people have seen some of these movies, so it's not like all of these are completely, weightless right now, but a lot of these are still unseen, like West Side Story, who knows? Nightmare Alley, I have a lot of faith in that movie, but really, who knows?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you.
This is Matt, you can keep talking about The Matrix, and I can keep talking about this.
That is totally fair. Keep going on and on about that.
All right, J. Manuel's here. Arachnophobia is awesome, and I don't like spiders. Kingdom of the Spiders is good, cheesy William Shatner goodness. I have never seen Kingdom of the Spiders. Have you not?
I have not myself. Again, same thing, but I
Okay.
will. It's been on my list because that is exactly why. Like that comment is exactly why I want to get to it eventually. It's been on Shudder for a little bit, I believe.
Yeah. All right. I might seek that out. How about we do another story? Which trailer do you want to talk about? Pick a trailer.
I mean, like, I definitely watched Midnight Mass, so let's start there.
That is a very, very, very good trailer.
Yeah.
I love it.
The way it sets it up, the community aspect first, and then you introduce the pastor, and then you introduce everything that kind of happens after it. I mean, it's faith taking over. It's the immediate miracle scene where, you believe in him immediately and things are going to go bad. So it hits all the right beats to get me interested in everything that we knew the story was going to tell, and it still feeds it to us. And we still just listen. Flanagan makes good TV. I will never get away from that. Flanagan makes real good TV. Yeah.
I might be doing some interviews for this one soon, so I'm mighty excited to dig into it. But
I'm gonna say that you are. I'm gonna say that might not be a might.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything until they're in the can because I think I'm gonna jinx everything.
I do the same thing. I agree.
I could bring up another trailer and actually tell you which interview I did because it is in the can. Sex Education Season 3.
Nice.
Have you
I've never seen. I haven't seen any of it. No.
Oh my God, Matt. You two would love it. Please, when you have time, please binge Sex Education. I am fully behind the idea that you will get obsessed with it and you will love every ounce of it. It's so good.
I will put that on my list of things that I will eventually get to watching. That
I know it's a lot of things. It's a very, very special show that has an incredible ensemble, and it deals with obviously sex education and high school growing pains and a coming of age story, and it does so in a way that is often laugh out loud funny, but also really deep and sincere and beautiful. And hi, Rogers. And the ensemble makes it so, you don't necessarily have to fully relate to any one character's experience, but there's such a variety of things being explored, and they're all being explored so fully that I would like to think that everyone out there can find something like valuable to take with them from the series. It's not just something that is fulfilling to watch these characters go through. There's so many things that have happened on this show that I really do think that if I had this show to watch while I was in high school, maybe I would have processed certain things a little better.
Yeah, it's good it's always nice to see those things anyway and hope that someone has that actual reaction. Like, yes. I don't know. We had an entire conversation about freaking Promising Young Woman, and it's like you see Promising Young Woman now, and my God, I wish that came out when like I was growing up and the cinema was dominated by like the very teen sex comedy era that was very not great for a lot of reasons, but that was all that was out there. And it's like when you get hit over the head by so many American Pies and road trips and things of that nature, it drives the way it drives a lot of thinking because that's what you see over and over again. So it's like, yeah, that conversation is important. It's like you see these things and you're like, holy hell, I wish I had that when I was growing up, but also in the same breath, like somebody does. So there are people that do have that now, which is great.
It is very cool. But for anyone who is caught up and just wants to know thoughts on the season 3 of it all, that it's a really good trailer. And I also never even said who I have coming up on Ladies Night. Amy Lee Wood, who plays Amy in the show. She won a BAFTA for her incredible performance in season 2, and she's just such a friggin' delight. So that is an episode to look forward to because it was a lot of fun.
But so was that your only take on Midnight Mass? Was it just I liked it?
I don't want to say too much because I can't say too much.
Oh, you can't.
I don't want to dig myself a hole I can't climb out of.
I get that. It very much is selling for me, like not a cult like feel, but like a cult like feel in a way. Like it definitely has that. It's faith based horror, but it's also horror of community, horror of being kind of stuck in a small community, especially, and everyone believes a certain thing. So I like those stories. I like those little bits of like, how can these people believe something and how can these people fall into a trap? But then you see the leader at the, you see that moment where there is someone in charge of everything and you see how charming and things of that nature. And that's always a fun character study for me. A fun, not like maybe not the word that everyone used, but like if you're watching entertainment, you're watching a character study, like that's exactly what you want. Do you remember that found footage movie? It was like, it was Ty West, I believe. I take it back. I believe it was Ty West. It was like the Sacrament or something.
Yeah. I knew immediately what you were going for.
Yeah. So like I am in on that kind of stuff so hard immediately. Like from the onset. I want to see how that community comes together. I want to see how that's built. And I want to see how the characters are so devout to something that is obviously on the outside perceived one way, but the inside is so brainwashed. I want that kind of stuff.
It's like painful right now. I can't wait until we could talk about this more.
All right. You can't see anything. That's fine.
All right. What other trailers do we have left? The Dexter trailer was really good. I mean, really good. So I had liked what I had seen from the new series thus far, where I'm like, all right, I'm into this. I want to go back to that world. This trailer in particular really made me think that they have a worthwhile thing here to do. And I love the way that it looks like they're bringing Deb back into the mix. I thought it played so well. Like just as a trailer, I thought it played really well. I love what they did with the theme music, but story-wise, I think they might have found something there.
Yeah, everyone kind of laments the end of Dexter and everyone kind of laments the way that it tapers off. I will associate it with, I just brought up the Ghost Dimension again on Twitter, and I was thinking about the new Paranormal Activity and how I'm so happy that we have a way for the franchise not to end on such a fucking down note. And I do believe that this new season of Dexter can have that same ability, because same thing. Dexter was such a show that it was like my first binge. I was so into it for so long, and then it just kind of like ends, and you're kind of just like, man, I was really loving so much of it, and then it just ended, and I'm fine with it ending because holy hell, that had like I don't want to see anymore after that. So at new trailer, you hook me back in, you bring me back into a show that I loved, and you bring me back in a way that I'm like, yeah, let's forget about the thing that was maybe not great, and we just go right back to it being to a good show. So Michael C. Hall, always good in my book, even when he's dancing a gamer. So, great scene.
Do we have anything left? I'm just like itching to talk about.
I know you are. I did not know they released a red band for Titan today. I missed that. Titan is fucking bonkers, man. I don't know how else that's all I can say right now. I'm like, I'll hold it for my review and stuff, but talk about a movie that you really can't prepare for and something that is just constantly shifting, whether you like it or not. And I say that very like warning disclaimery, whether you like it or not, this movie is insane. Take that exactly how you will.
Okay. I missed the screening the other night, so I'm very excited to hopefully get to see it for myself soon.
It makes Raw look like the marketable, safe route. That's the best. That's the best thing I could like. That's the best way I can kind of summarize it.
Well, that's an interesting choice of words there. All right, do we want to talk about Malignant? Was there anything left?
Let me get another. No, I'm gonna get another beer though.
All right, what's up? All right, you do that. I'm gonna check in here on the chat. Ooh, this is a good one, Jay. I'm loving what we do in the Shadow season 3 so far. Such a good show. Could not agree more. I quite like that show. Are we up to 2 episodes of the new season thus far, or just 1? I think it's just 1 that's out, and the first one is really good. What else we got here? Lots of love for Rogers in the chat. No surprise there.
He just follows me around. He just followed me to get a beer, then he came back.
You need an escort to go to the fridge and get a new beer. I understand that.
100%. Oh, Reservation Dogs. I've been keeping up with that. So good.
You're watching that? I hear such great things. And I want time to add something to my list, and I just have not found it just yet.
And it's an easy one because it's like 20 minutes. Like it's a half an hour show, but like it comes to like 22 minutes an episode. Great. Awesome. Watch it during lunch. Get an episode out of the way, and you're like catching up in no time.
All right. Can we do it?
We can do whatever you would like.
Right. So this is the plan, guys. We are going to give you a non-spoiler review of Malignant. So if you have not seen the movie, you are safe for a little while, but this is a movie we have to talk spoilers about too. So you will get a very clear warning when we jump into spoilers, but right now, non-spoilers. All right.
Yeah.
Ready to do it, Matt? Ready to jump into a non-spoiler review of Malignant?
I mean, we're going to do it anyway, so.
I don't care. I don't care if you're not as excited because I am just like, I
did not say that. I did not say that.
Well, you took a little of my enthusiasm away right there. Actually, that's not possible. I am so pumped to talk about this movie. First thing I want to do, though, is give you guys a synopsis. And I think I'm going to lean on IMDb for this because this is one of those things where I'm not coming anywhere close to spoiling anything for you. So this is the synopsis that IMDb has. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are, in fact, terrifying realities. So, we had talked about the Malignant trailer on this show a while back, and I vividly remember saying, like, oh, you know, it looks pretty good, but it looks like a bunch of things that I've kind of seen before. This movie is like nothing I've ever seen before, but it is though, because it feels like old school James Wan. There's something very, there's something very old school in general about it, but at the same time, it's got so many components that are such wild creative swings that it gets to live in both worlds at the same time. And just like overall tone, style, the look of the movie, I was just soaking it all up and loving every single ounce of it.
This is our glorious, fantastic return to like late 90s, early 2000s horror. You just think about House on Haunted Hill, you think about 13 Ghosts, and there's like Dark Castle comes to mind immediately. The Game Overs, the Fear.coms, those movies that are so quintessential of that little millennium turn. And we had a blip, of those movies for a few years. And then you go right into Saw, James Wan again, kind of shanghaiing and kind of taking the genre into a direction. So he took Saw and he turned the horror genre into like torture porn and all that stuff. And it went that way. So that's fine. But James Wan has just gone back to almost the period that he disrupted. And he's like, yo, but I want to make my movie from that period. And that's Malignant. Like it is so bonkers batshit. I didn't know it was happening for like the latter half of the movie. And even like, not to say that I didn't know, because like the title is the title. In any case, man, that is some wild swings.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, it is him going back to that period of film, but it also almost felt like a big celebration of the style and accomplishments he's achieved on his own throughout the years. I like, there are touches of Saw in the score. The visuals make me think of Insidious. I mean, I'm sure you loved the reds in the movie. The creature design is reminiscent of his past films. This just feels like one big batch of James Wan filmmaking, bringing everything from the entirety of his career together, minus maybe Fast and Furious and Aquaman. I mean, in the horror genre specifically. But, you know, he's a horror filmmaker that I love to my core. So to be able to get that feeling through this one movie was very exciting to me. And then, like, look at this cast. So here's another thing. I think this is Annabelle Wallace's best performance yet, maybe her best role yet, where a role actually gives her something to really sink her teeth into, because I've seen her in a whole bunch of things and she's really good, but I always find myself thinking that her head is hitting a ceiling because of the writing. And here, because the script takes big swings, she gets to take big swings, and man, is she good at it.
She is, like, the swings that she is taking too, and the things that her character has to endure and sell. Like, she has to sell things. I can't spoil things, and this is so effing hard, but the things that she has to sell are some like sci-fi channel bullshit. And I say that with love because it still comes across in such a way that I am laughing my ass off the whole time at this film. And again, not in a negative way. I'm laughing my ass off because I'm having so much fun. This is a quintessential. I really wish I saw this in a crowd, like a midnight crowd, especially because I did watch it on HBO Max. Like I just popped it on today, and there's a glory to be able to do that. But if I was at like a Fantastic Fest and this was one of those just like midnight surprises, I would be howling the whole time, having so much fun. And that's the kind of movie this is. It goes back to, even you're mentioning the James Wan like nostalgia in a way. It goes back to like Dead Silence, and this is that era of James Wan. This is that James Wan where he's done things in his movies where the cops feel very Saw-like when he made those cop archetypes in Saw, and there's a scare that is so very insidious where it's like a child running, and he's just done all these things where he's like, yo, what if I just like had the dumbest amount of fun with this and no one could fuck with me? Like, that is Malignant, and that is, I respect the hell out of it, and some people are going to hate it for that.
I think these are some of the best cops in a horror movie I've seen in a while, where they feel like full people on their own. They don't feel like throwaway surface level cop characters. They're a lot of fun to watch, and the humor really works as it plays in this world, but it's also kind of fun to see them really lean into cop tropes. And I think it plays very, very well, whereas I usually think that that's a weak spot in these types of horror movies. And then I can't not give Maddie Hasson a huge shout out, who, yes. I mean, like, she's another one who needs to be, on a bigger platform so more people out there can realize what she's capable of. She's so good in this. And I was a very big fan of the show Impulse, which used to be a YouTube original show. And I think that show needed to go another season, but it didn't. But she just like led the crap out of that show. And now we get to see her excel in a James Wan movie. And I freaking love it. Are you done?
Yeah. So, what? Oh, you were breaking up for me hardcore there. Sorry, great. I didn't mean to.
Great.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I went to say something and then all of a sudden you cut back in. But sticking with her, like, we just saw her in We Summon the Darkness, and she is having so much fun in that. But I think, to your credit, it's the thing of she was having so much fun in a film that, same way you said about Annabelle Wallace, only let her have as much fun as the script let her. And the script kind of held her back, I think, in We Summon the Darkness, where she is taking swings in princess dresses and doing things that are just having so, like, again, she's playing a serious character, but able to have fun in this Malignant world. And I know we can't get to, like, when do we get to the spoilers? Because we will. Things. Okay. But also to the score too. To the score, I want to say definite Friday the 13th vibes too. I know the Saw vibes are definitely there, but this felt so like Manfredi-ish too, going back to Friday the 13th. And then it cuts under with like the Seattle alt rock grunge scene. So you have these haunting covers of something that would like be discovered in Seattle and like it be attributed to that music scene. And then all of a sudden you get those like string notes from, I swear to God, they were like right out of a Friday the 13th soundtrack. It's playing with like nostalgia outside of Wan. It's just playing with just fun horror nostalgia.
Joe Bashar again. I don't understand how we're not thinking about him as one of the greatest composers ever when you think about all of the iconic horror scores at this point that he's behind. I mean, so many things where if I hear even a single stitch of a score from a movie that he's done, it immediately transports me back to that moment. And I think over time, his work in Malignant is going to have that same effect. We also like only lightly touched on the visuals here, but this is like a beautifully shot movie from top to bottom. The atmosphere is just absolutely nuts. It is so incredibly powerful. And when it comes to the scares, man, this movie does not hold back. A+ stunts and gore effects all over the place. And speaking of it being all over the place, another thing I loved about Malignant is that it comes out the gate so hot. This movie is pretty much at an 11, almost from beginning to end. It doesn't stop. And
Dead Silence.
It's just under 2 hours, but this thing flies, and it's so tight. It really doesn't waste any time, which I really appreciated when it came to the, figuring out the mystery. There was no fluff there. They just did it, and it worked.
That's that dead silence James Wan. That's that dead silence James Wan where he kills somebody in the first, however many minutes, and he sets the stage by being like, this movie is gonna be intense, and this is not gonna like pull any punches. We're gonna murder, we're gonna show blood. And I will say it's a little heavier into the CGI blood, and because I'm sure it's just what they had to do with the time and budget that they had, still did not take me out of it. And I'm someone that will go out of a movie so quick if it's just that cheap, cheesy, gross CGI blood that you're kind of like, yeah, this is bad. This is just a bad interpretation. I want practical so much, but it works here. It's goopy, it's gory. You don't get that kind of bad pixelation vibe. So the fact that you're able to sell me on that and keep me in with the comedy and keep me in with still the talking about the cinematography, that is where the giallo aspect comes in, because you definitely have influences of giallo horror there with all these red saturating lights and like the lights, especially in the way they frame the darkness. I feel like he's playing with 17 different subgenres, and he doesn't give a shit if they come together because he is just having so much fun. And that's what brings them together. These things that shouldn't work, like the opening credit scene that again is just like industrial rock. It's all these like intercut, weird, creepy images. And that is something, again, fear.com, to bring up something from the the 2000 era. Like that's what it feels like. And then you get the giallo, and then you get all these other aspects, and you're like, I don't know how this movie like Frankensteined itself together, but James Wan doing it just makes all the sense.
Yeah, I think it's score time. Do you want me to go first? Can I go first? I want to go first. I'm giving Malignant 4.5 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimal scale. I adored this movie. I had such a blast. I was yelling at the screen in the best way possible. I'm pretty sure I cackled a couple of times. I had such a blast with this thing. It's not flawless. There's one CG heavy shot that I don't think works as well as intended. And, I'm curious to watch it again and really piece together every element of the mystery. But I just had so much fun with it. And I think the amount of fun I had with it very much reflects a 4.5 out of 5 on the Dewey Decimal Movie scale.
All right. I struggle with it because I think I had as much fun as you. I'm definitely not going to downplay the fun angle because that is what makes this movie watchable. I think I land at like a 3.5 because I still have to compare it to other things that James Wan has accomplished. And while there may be these magnificent like shots of the main character running through her house and we see it from the top down and it looks like a dollhouse, like there are some really cool things that James Wan, he does the Evil Dead camera. Like he does an Evil Dead camera inside the house. He is having fun. And that is what gets conveyed throughout this movie. But if I'm going to compare it to Insidious, if I'm going to compare it to Dead Silence, if I'm going to compare it to any other movie he's made, I still have to put it down to like a 3.5 because there are things that show. The scenes show in this movie. He's having a fun. He's having a vibe. Maybe it's also a good case of why people need producers and editors just to be like, hey, you made something really cool and fun. Let me just make a few comments here. I think that's where I land. But I'm still positive on it. I'm still very glowing on it. And I still had a tremendous amount of fun with it.
All right. Before we go into spoilers, I am dedicating this Malignant review to the wonderful Ian Wilder, who is basically the king of horror over on the Patreon team. And I have a whole lot of movie and TV reviews to thank him for, like this Malignant one. So, Ian, thank you for your continued support and just the fact that you're awesome. All right. Shall we move over to spoilers? Yeah, we should. Let's do it.
Can.
All right.
I want it. Yeah. So wait, I do want to bring up. So blood was practical. They had 2 practical vendors at their helm. It's the color grading, which made it look like CGI, which is very interesting because that is. Really? It very much looked it. It very much looked it in the film itself. If that is just how it came across, I will happily change my stance.
I didn't. I didn't comment on that because I didn't feel the same way about the blood, but I'm curious to watch it again and consider what you just said. So, but that's interesting.
Could be the very much my television settings. Very, very much could have played into it. So I am happy to be wrong about that. I just saw it. I didn't have time to research it. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. This right here is our spoiler review of Malignant. So obviously that means if you have not seen the movie, now is the time to say goodbye, because right now, from this point on, we are talking Malignant spoilers. Here we go. I'm just going to do it. Holy shit. That reveal. And the thing is, there were things in the movie throughout that were hinting that it was really going to be her. Something about the look
Title
of
Malignant.
the look of that character, like her face, the evil entity's face being covered by hair. I'm like, it's going to be her. But still, when they revealed what it was, I just audibly shouted in my apartment alone, like, what is this? I freaking love this. And then they just go on to continue to show it on her. And it's one of those things where it's almost like revealing your monster or your alien, where if you linger on it too long, it's not going to look. No, this looked really good. And it continued to look good for like 99% of the rest of the movie.
I am such a huge proponent of creature features that do not hide what they are doing, that do not hide the monster in focus, that do not care whether you see it too early or not. I think a thing with like creature features and monster movies is hold it for as long as possible. Only use the monster when you have to, because we want to like emphasize the impact. Yeah, you want to emphasize impact? Just do what Malignant does. Just turn it into a fucking ninja and just let it like. When they reveal and they do the full reveal in the prison, which by the way, fucking Zoe Bell has a mullet. God bless that scene. So funny.
Zoe Bell is hands down one of the best of the best. Anytime
oh
she
pops
up in a movie, I'm gonna have a big grin on my face.
So I mean, like for those people that don't know, like if you're still here, I hope you've seen the movie. We are doing spoilers. We're talking about everything. I mean, the entity that is Gabriel is revealed not to be even like a twin. Literally, Gabriel has been absorbed by Emily, and Gabriel is part of Emily, to the point where they try to surgically remove Gabriel, but cannot remove all of Gabriel. So part of him is just pushed into her cranium and has always been there. And the reveal is his head comes out of the back of her head, and he is the killer because he's using her body, and he just takes her whole body and does like a contortionist trick and backwards faces towards. So like her arms are basically like this the whole way, and it's such a cool effect because you can catch it real early, but it's not super like in your face. So the thumbs are in the wrong place in a very early shot, which leads you to say like something is not right here. But at the same respect, if you're not paying attention to that, it's a tremendous like job just like hiding it, but not hiding it.
It's also just like a huge stunt work feat. I mean, I don't know the specifics of how they pulled that all off, but what, like that to me is award-worthy stunt work that needs to be recognized, but it won't because there's no stunt category at the Academy Awards, and even if there was, horror movies probably wouldn't be recognized there. But this is incredible work there. But I also loved how all of that tied into her relationship with her sister and how important that was to keeping Gabriel out of her life. I mean, the beginning of the movie is deeply upsetting, and it makes it even more upsetting that we find out that that's the reason that Gabriel is ultimately unleashed. Yeah. And I just found it, I don't want to use the word realistic because we're talking about a movie where one person is two, and you know what I mean. But I did find that there was a really heartfelt, grounded quality to how their relationship as sisters was essentially the power that she needed to lock Gabriel away. I found that extremely believable within the context of this movie and a very satisfying conclusion to that fight.
Yeah. It's very Flanagan-esque. I want to say that because he has movies like Before I Wake, and I really like, I honestly like film-wise Flanagan. I think Before I Wake is my favorite, which is very unpopular.
Wow.
But because of everything that he does in Hill House and everything he does there, where he's able to do things with emotional storytelling, but also very like dreadful, in your face horror interpretations. And to me, that is Malignant, because you play that entire finale out where you think it's happening, and then everything melts away, and it is just the main character tearing that down. The main character is tearing down that wall, and the way that Gabriel has been able to, again, that first reveal, Gabriel's able just to like manifest different areas and just completely change like places and time. Insane, absolutely insane. But for that to be done to him, and for like that to be the culminating emotional arc that is fulfilled there, and to lock Gabriel away in that prison, it's like weirdly powerful. It is very weirdly, oddly powerful in that moment, because you don't expect to be hit by that. You don't expect this creature feature to do that. And then the door slams on him, and it's like, fuck yeah. Like you have locked away your literal demon.
I would very much like for Malignant to become a series. I don't want a sequel film to be Maddie battling Gabriel's return, but rather almost like a dark superhero movie where now she's got Gabriel's ability and can just kick ass. Because that was my reaction when she lifted up the hospital bed. I'm like, you are a damn superhero now. You can do anything.
Well, that's a really cool moment. You're right. That is a cool moment when she's like, this is my body. I've been able to do this the whole time. Yeah. Like, I can harness this. So you do unlock a superhero in a way. Like this is a very dark, graphic, violent origin story for a new superhero.
It feels that way. It feels like it's not just something that could have, planted the seeds for a potentially cool superhero type follow-up. But I think there's the emotional threads to well support it and to make that next step of her journey very interesting, because like she's starting a whole new chapter of her life. Like what is she going to do? I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. She has a power now. And how is she going to use it? Like she could use it for good to help people out. And, I'm not talking about similar situations, like in terms of other people out there having a Gabriel, but she could do good in the world with her experience now.
I mean, the way that we leave off and the way that the film ends very much is her conquering of Gabriel, and very much, like Madison has become the hero. Like I think that's what this whole thing is. Like Madison is the hero, obviously. So I don't see the arc going Gabriel corrupts her. I think if anything, Gabriel gets out again and it becomes a fight with herself. So like that is the arc if you're going to do that. So I don't think you don't have the like Gabriel corrupts her and all of a sudden she starts being like an anti-hero, but like
that's the trilogy. Give her one movie where she's fully in control and can use that ability and grow. But then Gabriel in a third movie manages to reemerge, and she needs to use everything she's learned over the course of those two movies to defeat him again, maybe once and for all.
Yeah, can we just like circle back though to when we really see Gabriel for the first time? That shouldn't fucking work. Like that shot of just the arms coming out.
You're talking about the flashback with McKenna Grace. You're talking about young Gabriel, not old Gabriel.
Yeah, no, like, young Gabriel, like, little girl is just talking to her doctor totally normally, and the camera pans around. Fucking just like going. I was like, whoa, James Wan, what the fuck? Also good.
I think that was part of the holy shit quality of that moment. You don't see very many movies that will sit on a shot like that for that long, but like, I think they sit on it more than once. And then also, I think
they linger. They don't even sit; they linger on it,
without a doubt. And even older Gabriel looked phenomenal. I thought all of those effects and the physicality and everything was just so spot on, and I was so impressed by all of that. I want more. I want more of this.
No, I know.
This is what happens, and then we get horror franchises that never end, and we complain about it, but I really think that my idea for the future of the Malignant franchise is something worth exploring.
No, that's totally fair. I did not see. Hold on. It's interesting to see loads of cameos. Mike Mendez, room plot. So like Mike Mendez, I did not pick out the first time as being the hostile security guard. And now as I go through the credit, obviously I'm like, that's right, that is Mike Mendez. So I think that lends itself to this is James Wan like working out of the studio system though, and obviously he's doing it in the studio, but like this is his full creative, full like, yo, I'm just gonna make a horror movie that loves horror movies, and I'm like, it intunes him to the indie horror world too. It like it really shows that he's paying attention outside of what he's been doing, which I don't know if all filmmakers do, but for James Wan to like throw these little cameos in and to really notice the other indie artists that like maybe haven't gotten his platform, and for him to just like throw them in the movie, which means obviously he's on like good terms and paying attention and stuff. It's a nice little note. It's a nice little kiss there to like actual horror fans.
I like how you just described the movie. It's a horror movie that loves horror movies, and I think that comes through. I think that comes through a lot. I mean, it does. Like I was saying it in the non-spoiler portion, it feels like a big celebration of James Wan's filmography and how he's grown as a filmmaker over the years. And it also feels like a big celebration of genre. Like, let's take big swings and go crazy together and have a blast. And that's what this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah. I also know people aren't going to like it. Like I'm just playing both sides of the coin and just saying, I think, yeah, I understand the, no, I know. I understand though. Like I've already seen some comments be like, I didn't get to see it with the right crowd intended, so I wasn't fully into it. So I would, all I wanted to say is like, I do stress if you haven't seen it yet and you're still here for some reason, watch it with people if possible. Like have some friends over that you trust and put them on a couch. Have anything you want to add to that scenario. And watch Malignant. That is exactly the way it is. It should be watched. I think is intended to be watched. Because again, I will stress if I saw this at like 12 o'clock at Fantastic Fest with that Fantastic Fest crowd, it might be like a 5 out of 5 movie.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have liked it to see it with that kind of audience, but I was still very happy with how it played. Yeah. Like I didn't even watch it on my TV, and I'm not lying when I explain this. I watched it during the day on my couch on my iPad with my iPad like that far from my face, which is probably not good for my eyeballs, but I don't care.
Definitely not.
With a blanket covering me, like in a little like dark hole I made for myself with the screen plastered to my face, and I loved it.
I like that. I like the image of just you making a cave around yourself and burrowing and being like, I'm gonna watch Malignant.
Was what it was. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to try to create that enclosure of being in a theater type feeling, and that's what the blanket did for me.
The blanket of comfort, the blanket of trust, the blanket of James Wan just holding you and saying, you're going to love this.
Pretty much what it was. All right. That right there is our spoiler review of Malignant. And with that, that's the Merri Hour.
Yeah,
I don't know what we got planned for next week, but we should plan something funner because we're just doing virtual this week because I'm drowning in work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm going to try to bang out my Malignant review after this. So
I'm going to go binge 2 movies. I'm watching Voyeurs. Did you see that?
I did not. No.
And let me see if I could figure out remember the other title that I'm watching. It's a movie on Amazon. I'm going to find it. So anyone out there who wants to watch it can watch it. I have it right here. Salute 7. I believe it might be a Russian movie. The true story of the Soviet Apollo 13. I'm going to watch that as well. So a double feature.
Really pushing into that cosmic horror, or sorry, cosmic movies.
It was recommended to me by someone that I feel obligated to take their advice right now. So I'm going to watch that, and that'll make 3 movies for today.
Good for you. I watched Malignant and did a bunch of work.
Well, good luck writing your review. That's it. We are out of here. Have a good weekend, everyone.